Hey everyone, finished watching the next VR Troopers episode. Can't remember the name of it, but I'll have the thing up on screen. You can read it from there. Ryan takes Caitlin to meet with some bikers taking part in a charity event. Percy comes along. He's jealous Caitlin was given this story to cover. The bikers let Ryan join. One of them hands Ryan a helmet. Ryan and Percy jump on one of the bikes, but when Ryan puts his helmet on, his head suddenly glows. It fades in an instant. No one saw. Ryan drives erratically and tries to hit Caitlin. He drives away with an evil laugh. Carl Zichter looks over one of the bike helmets. Implanted inside is a mind control device. General Ivar has a new monster ready to use in Grimlord's plan. JB and Caitlin check out the bike shop and find Skuggs there. They teleport away with one of the bikes. General Ivar turns the stolen bike into a new monster, Cyclotron. Percy is held captive by a gang of bikers for some reason. They're wearing Grimlord's helmets. I don't really know what exactly they want with Percy. Like, they just kind of yell at him. At Hart's lab, the troopers see Ryan leading the bikers. They track him down, but he drives away, leaving them to face some Skuggs and the new monster. The bad guys retreat. They leave behind a helmet, and inside, JB sees a holographic readout of a map. They think following it will lead them to Ryan. It works. They find Ryan, and they fight their way through the villains to get to Ryan and remove his helmet. Ryan stays behind to help the bikers while JB chases Cyclotron and destroys him. Later, Percy gets a map stuck to his face and stumbles around knocking over some bikes. I guess that's a way to end things. This episode's fine. Not particularly memorable, but it's not boring. The thing that always stood out to me about this one is the stick figure symbols on the helmets. They're meant to stand in for the Japanese writing on the helmets in Spielbahn. Percy gets a lot to do this time around, and it's pretty good. He actually gets an almost hero moment when he tricks evil Ryan and almost escapes. He can't start the bike that he jumps on, though. Okay, I looked up the title for this episode because I couldn't remember it, and the reason I couldn't remember it is because the title is New World Order. What in the world does that have to do with anything in this episode? Like, New World Order, mind control, bike helmets. I don't know, couldn't they have come up with a title that had to do with bikes or something? It's such a bizarre title, that doesn't fit at all. I don't know, is it some kind of reference to something that I'm completely missing? Was there some bike thing back in the early 90s that, I don't know, had something to do with New World Order? I don't know, that is weird. Definitely the weirdest thing in the episode. I'm glad I looked it up, because New World Order? Okay, so that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya. Hey everyone, finished watching the next VR Troopers episode, Grimlord's Children. So the last episode on Season 2, Volume 1 of VR Troopers, so I can finally move on to the last volume, and then I'm all done with VR Troopers, and then I move on to Masked Rider. Tao Dojo is taking over watching kids from a nearby play center. The play center was flooded and needs to be cleaned. Tao leaves, leaving the troopers in charge of the kids, including a particularly rambunctious boy, Chad. Grimlord's latest plan is to brainwash the children into obeying him. Meanwhile, at Tao Dojo, Percy comes over and it turns out he's naturally talented with kids, and the rowdy kids immediately all listen to him, at least until the kids go crazy and cover him with finger paint. Grimlord's new monster, Obatatron, can create balloons that can brainwash kids with a touch and trap adults. Chad wanders out of the dojo and encounters Obatatron. The monster spits out a balloon that chases him. JB goes out to look for Chad. JB finds him, and Chad points to the balloon, now harmlessly floating in the sky. Chad tells JB about the monster, but he doesn't believe him. At the dojo, the monster blows balloons through a window, and all the kids become zombies. Ryan and Caitlin come in and see the kids, and then they touch the balloons and become trapped inside. JB makes it in and sees the balloons holding the troopers floating away. He chases the balloons, leaving Tao and Chad at the dojo. JB runs into Obatatron and fights him off, and then frees Ryan and Caitlin. At Hart's lab, Hart informs the troopers of the situation. Icebot and Ivar controlling Obatatron from their airship. Ryan takes on the airship while JB and Caitlin go after Obatatron. They defeat him, neutralizing the balloon's effects, and then at Tao Dojo, Chad joins Tao's karate class. This episode's pretty good. It's a fun one, although the moral of the day is kind of weak and confused. At the beginning, we get the standard Ryan reminiscing, "I always thought about what my dad told me" thing, but in this one, he's talking about cheating. Cheating's bad. My dad taught me that when you cheat, you're the real loser. And, okay, cool, but then nothing in this has anything to do with cheating. It has to do with lying, vaguely. It's supposed to be a boy cries wolf story, but it doesn't really work. The troopers don't know Chad. This is just like episodes and episodes ago, Couch Potato Kid, where there's this kid who's supposedly a couch potato, and he doesn't get out and exercise or do anything other than watch TV and play video games, but then we do see him, like, go out and, like, do stuff, not having anything to do with the video games. Show don't tell problem. They're not showing us, they're just telling us that this is the problem with the kid. The play center was supposedly flooded because of something Chad did, but we don't know for sure if he did it. And then also, he broke a trophy in Tao's dojo, but he didn't really lie about it, he just didn't say anything about it. And given how rambunctious and rowdy the kids are, isn't that, like, kind of to be expected that something's gonna break? Like, they see him holding, like, a piece of the trophy, so, okay, yeah, he's probably the one that broke it, and he didn't tell anyone, but... And then later on, when he tells JB about seeing the monster, JB doesn't believe him, and it's supposed to be that Chad is known for telling lies, but he didn't really tell any lies, not to JB. And at this point in the show, episode, I don't even know what we're up to now, 70-something? If some kid tells JB there's a monster that does something pretty weird, JB should probably look into it, or at the very least, call Hart to see what's going on. Otherwise, this is a great episode. There's a lot of fun American shots of kids running from balloons, and there's a lot of good action scenes, and Percy actually gets to be competent for a little while. Ryan and Caitlin getting stuck in the balloons is a pretty funny visual, and also funny is that how serious they treat this very silly situation. This is one of the problems I have with, like, in the Disney Power Rangers seasons. Like, I'm doing Dino Thunder now, and there's a couple of good episodes of Dino Thunder, and then there's also some bad episodes, and one of the problems I have with the Disney seasons is, like, the tone. In VR Troopers, especially this episode, the tone works perfectly. They're in a ridiculous, silly situation. They're trapped inside balloons. We see the balloons, like, just bouncing out of the dojo and JB chasing after them. It's ridiculous. But their actors are so serious with this, it really works. If you're in a silly situation, and you're treating it like a silly situation, then it doesn't really have the same kind of impact. One of the most unexpected things in this episode is Air Striker is back. I was never expecting to see Air Striker come back. Very unexpected. I guess he wasn't destroyed along with the other Metalder monsters, and I don't know why he's here. The only thing I can guess is that possibly his toy was still in production. So Kenner, who was doing the VR Trooper toys, they were like, put Air Striker back in the show because we're still selling his toy. Jeb gets a funny bit at the end, demonstrating a karate chop to Tao's karate class, and he actually breaks a board with his paw. It turns out Tao, like, cut it in certain ways so that it would break away, but that's still pretty impressive. So yeah, this is another strong entry, and hopefully this continues throughout the final episodes of VR Troopers. That's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya. Hey everyone, finished watching the next VR Troopers episode, The Millennium Saber. General Ivar and some monsters ransack a museum searching for a sword. The troopers, meanwhile, are at a flea market. Caitlin bought a fireman's coat, and Ryan is showing off his impressive piano skills. JB finds an old sword coated in rust. It turns out to be the sword Grimlord wants. The man selling the sword tells the troopers that it has a strange symbol on it that couldn't be deciphered, and was thus considered worthless. The troopers give the sword to Tao. He appears to recognize the symbol. Two men come in. They claim to be from the museum. Caitlin tricks them into revealing themselves as Skugs. In an ensuing fight, they get away with the sword. Tao explains what he knows about the sword. He looks it up in one of his books. Inside is the symbol on the sword. It's the Millennium Saber. Once every 1,000 years, it gains great powers. The troopers split up to see what they can find out about the sword. Caitlin finds out through research what the source of power is for the sword. She tries to tell the others, but gets attacked by Air Striker. Ryan goes to help Caitlin, while JB takes on General Ivar and his new monster, Lizardbot. Caitlin tells Ryan that the source of the sword's power is lightning, and there's an electrical storm at that moment. Hart theorizes that striking the sword with lightning of reversed polarity will nullify it. Ryan flies through, collecting electrical energy to use against the sword. Caitlin joins JB against Lizardbot. Ryan shoots lightning at the sword, and it works. The sword disintegrates, and Ivar retreats. This is a fun episode. Nothing groundbreaking, but still good. This episode was written by Judd Lynn, aka Chip Lynn. He was one of the most prolific writers on Power Rangers. He wrote, produced, and occasionally directed from Turbo through Time Force, RPM, and Dino Charge through Beast Morphers. He had a talent for being able to work in the Sentai footage and elements available in cleverly unique ways for Power Rangers. His experience on Power Rangers may have been why stock footage from Zyuranger is used in a flashback here. It's similar to how the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers episode, Happy Birthday Zack, utilized footage of an unmorphed ranger fighting a monster. Here it's two non-ranger humans in a sword fight. In the Skug fight at the dojo, Tao gets to join in. That's rare. Usually he's pretty separate from the action. Air Striker is back again, and they make sure to make it clear he's not dead. Ryan blows him up in a fiery explosion, but then we see him spinning away, dizzy and out of commission, but still alive. The main monster of the day is Lizardbot, probably one of the oddest names for any monster in either VR Troopers or any Saban show. There's nothing lizard-like about him aside from being green. He's a big samurai with an angry face. I have no idea how in the world they got Lizardbot from that. JB calls him Iguana once. They were looking at the flag on his back and mistook it for an iguana neck frill or something. Anyway, doing some research on this, I found out that the flag on Samurai Armor's back is called a Sashimono. Huh, cool. Learned something new today. Even the Metal Heroes wiki, for some reason, in the Japanese version of this guy, his entry, it still says Dragon Lizard themed. Like, I haven't seen the Spielbahn episode he came from, so somebody out there who's seen it, can you confirm that he was Dragon Lizard themed? He looks just samurai themed. His green angry face I figured was a reference to Daimajin or like some statue with a similar face. The Metal Heroes wiki also for some reason includes trivia notes for this episode saying that Aaron Pruner returns as Percy this season. Thanks? Maybe this was the first episode after a hiatus, and that's what they mean when referring to this mid-season episode as a new season, because back then, like, the break between seasons, usually they would call the next half a season. Or maybe this was the first episode in air date order or some other production order, but nonetheless, it's a bizarre thing to bring up because Percy's not even in this episode. This was a strong episode, and I had fun looking into it. Not a whole lot else to say about it, though, so that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.